I just bought my HD TV and the picture doesn't look as good as it did in the store. What's up with that? Welcome to Sony's eSupport channel. Today we'll talk about TV resolution, compression, and bitrate and how it affects TV picture quality. There's been a rapid rise in the options out there for TV programming in recent years, thanks in part to the prevalence of the fiber optic connectivity and pervasive broadband multimedia speeds that help to bring both high-definition television and more program selection to our homes. HD picture quality is determined by several components. Let's talk about resolution, compression, and bitrate. So let's talk about resolution. There's the TV's resolution and the resolution of the content you are viewing. Resolution can be labeled as anything from 480i, 480p, 720p, 1080i, or 1080p. Typically, the larger this number, the better the picture quality will be. Televisions have a native resolution, which refers to level of detail that the TV can display. Content resolution is determined by how images were captured from the source and how they are transmitted to your television. For example, when watching the news, some broadcasts are created using standard definition cameras. This can either be kept in its original resolution of 480 or it can be upscaled by the broadcaster to a higher resolution of 720p or 1080. An image recorded and broadcasted in 1080 resolution and displayed on a TV with a 1080 native resolution will look great. But a TV picture that was originally recorded in 480 and then broadcasted in 480 or even a 1080 resolution and displayed on a TV with a 1080 native resolution might be best described as having a grainy or noisy appearance. Even older vintage programs recorded in 480 and then uploaded into 1080 can enlarge artifacts and noise that were not visible when originally viewed from the older standard definition televisions they were intended for. TV picture quality is not always determined by the resolution alone. It's also influenced by both the compression and bitrate of the program you are viewing. A program with more compression and lower bitrate is not going to look as good as a program with less compression and a higher bitrate. Let's talk more about what this means. Compression is the process of squeezing the data to fit into the limited space of the broadcaster's transmission. If the compression is substantial, there may be noticeable loss of picture detail in the form of compression artifacts and loss of fine details. Artifacts are even occasionally intentionally introduced for artistic purposes to give a rough or rustic appearance, a style known as glitch art. Take a garden hose as an example. It outputs a lot less water than a fire hose because it's a smaller pipeline. Same thing happens with television. In our TV example, the larger the transmission pipeline, the more picture data that can be transmitted and displayed on your TV. Conversely, the smaller the transmission pipeline, the more compression, the more loss of detail in the picture that you might notice. Compression levels can vary from program to program and or channel to channel. The bitrate determines how much compression is needed. The bitrate is the rate at which our picture data is transmitted, be it over the air, by cable, or internet. You could say that the bitrate and compression have an inverse relationship. Back to the garden hose example. A garden hose with more pressure is going to output more water. Think of bitrate to a TV signal as water pressure to a garden hose. Higher bitrate will push more TV picture information as more water pressure pushes more water out of the hose in the same amount of time. In our TV example, the higher the bitrate, the bigger the file, the lower the compression, and the better the picture is going to look. Conversely, the lower the bitrate, the smaller the file, and the higher the compression, the more picture quality is going to be affected adversely. The bitrate for the typical HD receiver is 4 times more compressed and 10 times less than the bitrate as compared to a Blu-ray disc. Compression and a lower bitrate works great if the subject is not moving too much, But when you are watching TV and you see a lot of little objects moving quickly around the screen, the picture can look blocky. This is due to the fact that there is so much changing in the video that there's too much data required to produce a high quality image. Again, you're limited to so much data for the channel. You can see examples of this if you watch a broadcast version of a movie versus the Blu-ray version. That's because a Blu-ray movie doesn't have the same data restriction as cable or satellite. So you see less compression and much more detail throughout the movie, including fast-moving objects. In conclusion, picture quality is determined by three major factors that we have covered. Resolution determines how much detail can be displayed. Compression and bitrate gives us how much picture information is being received and displayed. Thanks for stopping by, and stay tuned for more information on how to take full advantage of leading-edge technology found in exciting new Sony products.